Most people go through life carrying invisible wounds, old betrayals, childhood scars, emotional disappointments, the echoes of relationships that drained them, and the quiet fear that the next person they trust will hurt them again. These wounds don't always show, but they shape everything. Your choices, your relationships, your confidence, your boundaries, even your sense of identity. And yet, there comes a moment, a powerful and life-changing moment when something inside you whispers, "I can't keep living like this." A moment when you realize that the world won't suddenly become kinder, but you can become stronger. A moment when you stop asking, "Why do people hurt me?" and instead ask, "Why do I keep giving them the power to?" And before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us continue bringing reflections that awaken, inspire, and transform, and I promise, what you'll discover in this video might change the way you see the internet, and maybe even the way you see yourself. Because today, we're going deep into a Jungian truth that has the power to transform your entire life. What truly happens when you stop being emotionally available to the wrong people, and how choosing inner strength can bring you to a place where nothing and nobody can ever hurt you again. But the secret Jung teaches us is this: you don't reach that point by becoming cold. You don't reach it by shutting everyone out. You don't reach it by pretending not to care. You reach it by finally meeting yourself. This journey begins the moment you decide to stop seeking emotional safety from the world and start building it within yourself. Because the truth is, people don't hurt you because they are powerful. People hurt you because you have not yet claimed your own power. And Jung dedicated his entire life to explaining what that really means. Every one of us carries two selves inside, the self we show the world and the self we secretly are. Most people spend their entire lives trying to protect that hidden self, the part of them that is tender, insecure, and afraid of abandonment. And to protect it, they become overly pleasing, overly giving, overly available. They give too many chances. They stay in relationships longer than they should. They tolerate behaviors that eat away at their self-esteem. They silence their own needs to avoid conflict. They shrink themselves to keep the peace. Jung said that this is the root of suffering, the refusal to confront your shadow, the parts of you that crave approval, fear, rejection, and submit to the emotional demands of others. As long as you refuse to face these shadow parts, you remain fragile. You remain manipulable. You remain open to being hurt. But here is the turning point. Here is the truth Jung would want you to hear. The moment you turn inward and confront every part of yourself, even the dark ones, you become unbreakable. Because you are no longer ruled by the need for validation, no longer controlled by the fear of abandonment, no longer shaped by the opinions of others, no longer bending yourself to keep people who aren't meant to stay. People can only hurt you when you depend on them to define your worth. When you stop giving them that power, when you learn to stand on your own psychological ground, when you finally accept yourself, the light and the shadow, something extraordinary happens. You become immune, not numb, not detached, immune. You feel emotions deeply, but they no longer destroy you. You love others fully, but without losing yourself. You walk through life open, but not exposed. You care, but from strength, not weakness. This is the kind of inner strength Jung believed marked true psychological evolution. Individuation, the moment you become whole within yourself. And the path toward that wholeness begins with one simple, brutal realization: not everyone deserves access to you. For your entire life, you may have been trained to be emotionally available, to answer every message, to forgive instantly, to overlook red flags, to understand everyone but yourself, to sacrifice yourself to save relationships that were never meant to survive. You were taught that being nice is noble. You were taught that understanding people makes you a good person. You were taught that giving endlessly makes you lovable. But Jung argues something different. If your kindness costs you your self-respect, It is no longer kindness, it is self-betrayal. And nothing destroys your emotional strength faster than betraying yourself in order to keep others comfortable. So what happens when you stop doing that? What happens when you stop being always available, always forgiving, always emotionally open? Everything changes. People who only valued you for what you gave them disappear quickly. People who loved your compliance become uncomfortable instantly. People who benefited from your silence get angry loudly. People who only stayed because you had no boundaries begin to fade naturally. And for the first time in your life, you see the truth. You weren't losing people. You were losing illusions and gaining yourself. This is the moment you begin your ascent into real power, the kind of power that protects you from being hurt ever again. Because the world doesn't suddenly change. People don't suddenly become kinder. Relationships don't suddenly become perfect. You change. You grow. You evolve. You rise. And as you rise, everything below you loses its ability to break you. Jung said that all transformation begins with confrontation. Not confrontation with others, that's easy. Confrontation with yourself, that's where the real battle lies. You must confront why you overgive, why you chase validation, why you fear conflict, why you ignore your intuition, why you allow emotional access to people who do not deserve it. You must confront the child inside you who learned that love must be earned, who learned that rejection is unbearable, who learned that staying silent keeps you safe. Because until you heal that inner child, you will always seek outside what can only be found inside. You will search for approval. You will beg for affection. You will cling to people who treat you poorly. You will let others define your worth. Jung said that, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. You will say, I always meet the wrong people. I always get hurt. I always attract manipulators. I always end up alone. But the truth is, you are not cursed. You are unhealed. And healing begins the moment you stop explaining people's behavior and start observing your own. When someone treats you poorly, you no longer ask, why are they like this? You ask, why am I still here? When someone disrespects your boundaries, you no longer ask, why don't they understand? You ask, why did I allow them access to me in the first place? When someone leaves your life, you no longer cling. You simply say, then it was never aligned. This is the power Jung wanted every human being to cultivate. A self so rooted in its own identity that the world can shake, and you will not. But here is where the transformation becomes even deeper. Once you stop allowing others to hurt you, you also stop hurting yourself. You stop punishing yourself for mistakes. You stop criticizing yourself for not being perfect. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop seeking validation on the outside. You stop judging your emotions. You stop running from your fears. You stop abandoning yourself the way others abandoned you. You become your own protector, your own parent, your own healer, your own anchor. And when you stand fully with yourself, nobody's absence can break you. Nobody's presence can control you. Nobody's opinion can define you. Nobody's rejection can shake you. Nobody's betrayal can wound you, because you finally understand. Everyone acts from their own wounds. Everyone behaves from their own level of consciousness. Everyone loves from their own capacity, and none of it has anything to do with your worth. This is the revelation that turns emotional vulnerability into emotional liberation. So what does your life look like after this transformation? You speak up when something bothers you. You walk away when something feels wrong. You enforce boundaries with calm confidence. You choose relationships based on alignment, not loneliness. You forgive without allowing re-entry. You give without draining yourself. You love without losing yourself. You care without collapsing. And the most surprising part? You become more compassionate, not less. More loving, not colder. More open, not closed. More free, not guarded.